meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees was previously called to order. We do have a quorum, and the meeting has been duly called. The notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. As we do every month, we will start with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. And it's my turn. So please bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge that you are good, you are sovereign, and you reign supreme over all things seen and unseen, God. We thank you so much for the opportunity to serve in the capacity in which we do, and we recognize the weight of this blessing. Lord, in a world where national and global leaders are debating the very laws of nature, which you set into consistent order centuries ago, we pray that you give us the minds to think clearly as we face challenges which require thought, the ears to hear your voice through the noise of a world gone seemingly mad, God. We pray you give us the hearts to be compassionate to those who our decisions impact and the eyes to see truth as we're faced with challenges to even the most instinctive and basic things. And finally, God, the courage to stand firm in that steady and deep truth when this broken world around us seems to set their eyes and beliefs on the always inconsistent and shallow world of feelings. Mostly, God, we pray for your Spirit to flow through us so that we can be conduits of your forgiving love and promote peace and patience as we navigate this duty you bestowed upon us. We pray for our nation, pray for its leadership, and no matter what side of the aisle they sit on, that they'll call for your guidance and seek your face as opposed to the favor of men. We pray for our teachers and staff and students as they're away from us this summer. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, we do have some action coming out of executive session, and that is to hire a new band director for Tyler Legacy High School. Dr. Crawford?
Pleased to have Mr. Threadgill here, or as a recommendation here for the band director's job at Legacy High School. Mr. Threadgill currently serves as an assistant at Legacy. Appreciate Mr. Sherman running the process to get feedback from band parents, at the same time scouting out and doing the interviews and everything. And Mr. Threadgill rose to the top. We're excited because it does give us some continuity to the success that we've had there at the Legacy Band. Obviously, the many years, the decade, over 2 decades plus of sweepstakes rating and marching contests, we feel like Mr. Threadgill is the best candidate we have to continue the success that we have at Legacy High School.
Very well, and he's out of town on vacation.
Correct. Just a little side note here. He's a long time vacation planned with his family, I think, to his home state of Florida or that area, and knew that this was probably going to coincide with that. There will be a separate time to congratulate him and to meet with the band constituents and the community there at Legacy High School when he returns from vacation. Hope he enjoys the vacation because the hot summer of band practice is upon us, and we're looking forward to Mr. Threadgill's leadership.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion on that item?
I'll move we approve the administration's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Bergfeld. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries, and congratulations to Mr. Threadgill. Okay, moving on, we have some special recognitions. Mrs. Hines.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Crawford. Tonight, we would like to begin our special recognition portion of the meeting by announcing the state placements of the following students. We would like to say congratulations to Tyler Legacy High School senior Sine Salvi for advancing to the state UIL competitions and placing 9th in the number since 6A contest and also 13th place in calculator applications. And if you would like to go ahead and come on forward, we're going to have him come up and receive his certificate. Come on forward. Come on down. Yeah. And next, we would like to recognize the following students in the Tyler Legacy High School Good Vibrations for each receiving a superior rating on their solo, earning the highest possible score for their soloist. So we have Malia Wickleaf, who is a sophomore. She will not be attending tonight. But in our audience, we do have Maggie McGill, who is a freshman. If you would like to come on down. Come on down. Also here tonight is Jared Gallion, who is a senior, and if you want to come on down. And then also those who were not able to attend tonight, but also did receive that superior rating is Brody Rogers, who is a senior, Joseph Brumfield, who is a senior, Kate Snar, a junior, and Vera Banta, who is a sophomore. And that concludes tonight's special recognitions.
Okay, we have the approval of minutes of the board workshop and regular meeting in May. Do I have a motion on those two items?
I move we approve the May 9th and May 20th minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. The minutes are approved. Now we have a couple of updates. We have an athletics update, followed by a STAR and EOC summary.
Greg Priest, Director of Athletics, will now provide the board its biannual athletics update. As part of the board monitoring calendar that we have, we also have fine arts that we provide and competitive academics. So our three major extracurricular emphasis, this is one of them. Mr. Priest.
Okay. Good evening, board, and good evening, Dr. Crawford. Thanks for having me. We'll kind of start on the update for athletics. Kind of listed all the district, starting with basketball as we finished up in the fall on the last update. So just starting with the district finishes. Basketball season went pretty well. 3 of 4 making the playoffs. Tyler High girls had a really good season, going undefeated. So that was really special. Boys, I mean, I don't know if y'all kept up with it this time when, they both play on the same night. I was actually at the Legacy game and then watching the other game online. Led pretty much both games for the entire thing and getting down to 30 seconds and just two really heartbreak finishes, and we wound up not pulling those things off. But very big accomplishments for our basketball teams, and I feel like we're heading in the right direction in our basketball programs. Girls, as far as on soccer, once again, 3 of 4 making the playoffs. Tyler High girls, it's been a long time. I've been here 10 years. It's the first time that they've made the playoffs in that time frame. So very, very encouraged with the direction of that. Also, Tyler Legacy boys making the regional tournament for the first time in 12 years. So really good season for our soccer programs. And once again, I think we're heading in the right direction there, and very encouraged with the future. As far as tennis, our tennis teams had a lot of good representation especially at district. Also, our track teams, as you can see, our participation numbers have been really strong, going in the right direction there. Spring tennis, we finished that off with Legacy. Sophie Miller and Audrey Deathridge finishing third at the state tournament. Very good season for them, and Audrey finishing her career at Tyler Legacy on a very high note. As far as baseball, softball, very encouraged with Tyler High on baseball. I mean, I know that their record, if you look at that is, the wins do not show it, but they have made huge strides over there and going in, and I like what I'm seeing there. We've got some good leadership. We all knew it was going to take some time, and we're definitely going in the right direction. As far as Tyler Legacy softball and Tyler High baseball, we came down to the final few district games, needing to win a couple of those to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but we put ourselves in position to do that. Also, with Legacy, girls softball losing their best pitcher right before the season starts. That was a big blow, but the girls hung in there and competed all year, and it, we were very close. Girls golf at Legacy had another outstanding showing this year. Boys were able to put a individual at regionals this year. Here are our district champions. We had 4, and so those are the teams listed. Very proud of those teams. And then, as I listed before, this is the Tyler High girls making the area in basketball. Had several regional qualifiers and then some by-district qualifiers. Tyler Legacy, here are our Iowa State playoffs. Had some very good showings. I think we had a very successful spring this year. And upcoming events, we are 44 days away from that first tennis match, and we are 71 days from that first football game. So new district, summer, the guys are getting, everybody, we got summer workouts going on. Everybody's getting after it. I think coaches are working very hard, and it is flying by, and those first games are going to be here before we know it. So looking forward to the upcoming season. I think we're going to be very well prepared, and look forward to an exciting year. Take any questions you guys have.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I'll make a comment, just a couple. Great job on the Tyler High girls soccer. I mean, we load up Lindsay Park on every Saturday here in Tyler, Texas, and a lot of Tyler kids are participating there, and really happy that that's going on. I don't know how much of an impact middle school soccer makes on the grand scheme of things. Soccer is it's like baseball, and now it's turned into basketball. You got to play it and play outside, but I'm so glad to see that that's coming to fruition there. And then kudos to Bobby Reynolds at Tyler High, girls basketball. I think that was a good hire, a golden hire for us that you were able to bring in, and he's doing a good job over there, not just winning basketball games, but I certainly appreciate the way that his program is run and the way that his athletes operate outside of the basketball court as well. So two shining examples there of your spring report, I think, Mr. Priest.
I know that I appreciate the availability of the programs and the coaches Monday through Thursday, week in, week out over the summer. Essentially for the first half of the day, you know, I know that not only when I drop my son off for football workouts and then he goes to basketball workouts, I see soccer and I mean, it's like everybody. I mean, it is very refreshing and encouraging that we open up our campuses for that, and I think it only benefits the program, so that's one thing I'll say.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, took it easy on you tonight.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a star and end of course summary.
Doctors Gropel and Curitan will now take the presentation table. Deputy Superintendent of Administration, K-8, Dr. Lance Gropel, and then Dr. James Curitan, Director of Assessment and Accountability. I got the title correct for the first time in a long time. But we've compiled all of our STAR data, EOC data. It's actually come in. These are not ratings, but these are the actual millions of data points that we have that do go into the gumbo to make our ratings, which will be released later on. But we're going to go ahead and let Dr. Gropel and Dr. Curitan present y'all with the data from this last year.
Thank you, President Washman, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Crawford. As Dr. Crawford mentioned tonight, we're bringing before you STAR and EOC results. Lots of positive things, and obviously a few areas where we have identified areas of growth as we look forward to the 24-25 school year. Obviously, this is just pieces of data, not the entire picture of overall performance for our campuses, as well as our students throughout the year. Our parents can now access their students' performance. We sent out communication at the end of last week of how they could do that through the portal, utilizing the TEA website, so the parents can access to see how their individual students performed. But our campus leaders, as well as our curriculum instruction team, have already really gotten deep into the data around how we refine our practices looking forward to next year, what instruction looks like, what assessments look like, and how we continue to grow from where we are. But I'll turn it over to Dr. Curitan to dive into the data itself.
All right, well, good evening. We'll jump right in, and we're going to, like we usually, we're going to kind of present the data in three chunks. So we'll talk through goals 1 and 2 first, and how that data looks. So this is related to our HP3 goals. We presented a little bit different to you this time. This is our 3rd grade reading goal, which was basically related to the percent of students that pass STAR reading at approaches grade level, which is the minimum passing standard. And our goal this year was at about 68%. We did see a dip from this year to last year. Last year we were at about 72% of our students passing 3rd grade reading. This year it dipped down to about 68%. And so you can see on that chart, we missed our goal this year. We hit it the last few years. We missed it this year, but we're looking in to see why that's the case this year. The second part of that goal, which was progress measure 4, we're still looking at 3rd grade reading, but we're looking at our meets and master students. So this is a higher level of performance. Obviously, we want to make sure that our high performers are continuing to perform high and not just kind of keeping status quo. So our goal this year was to have almost 42% of our students in 3rd grade reading at meets or masters. We exceeded that goal. We were at about 44.7%. So we exceeded that goal and are moving kind of up the ladder. The second goal we just want to touch on is our math goal, our 3rd grade math goal. And for our 3rd grade math goal, we were really, we wanted to be at about 77, almost 77% of our students passing 3rd grade math at the approaches grade level. You can see there we did miss the goal. We came down from last year where we were at 69%, and we came down to 66%. That blue line, just to point it out, that's the state and where the state was this year. You can see the state was at 75% last year, and they dipped to about 69% this year. So the dip is not what we want to see. Thankfully, we did see less of a dip than the state did in this sense. If we look at third grade math for our meets and masters, we see a similar trend. So we can see a dip from about 43 to 37% meets or masters on third grade STAR math. You can see the state also dipped. We did have a little bit of a bigger drop than the state did on third grade math with our meets and masters kids. So this is one of the areas that we'll start looking at and figuring out how we can make adjustments moving into next year. Okay, so next we're just going to give you apples to oranges, if you want to call it that, but just the STAR performance of all contents compared to last year. So you can kind of see how we did compared to last year, and then we'll touch on that cohort performance at the end. So here we've got our elementary STAR tested subjects. You'll see 23-24 data for Tyler ISD, those first three columns, some of which have green squares. And then you'll see the regional data and then state data to the right of that. And so anywhere there's a green column, we exceeded either the state or the region in that particular scenario. And you'll notice a trend as we go through this data that you'll see more areas where we exceeded the state or the region, in particular in the masters and meets levels. Here's our middle school data. So you'll see 6th and 7th grade math and reading. I know 7th grade math is always a focal point for us, so you'll see we actually did really, really well there. And then you'll see all of the 8th grade contents. And then lastly, these will be our 5 EOCs that are taken at the high. So you can kind of get a glimpse there of where we were. You will see with U.S. history, I just want to point this out since I didn't color code those last 2 boxes, but we actually exceeded the state performance and the region performance at all 3 proficiency levels in U.S. history. So fantastic job at U.S. history. Okay, lastly, we just want to touch on STAR cohort performance. So this is kind of the apples to apples comparison. Just to orient you to what we're going to look at, you'll see 22-23 STAR on the left-hand side. You'll see 23-24 STAR on the right-hand side. The 22-23 STAR is the preceding grade level. So when we say 4th grade, the 22-23 STAR is actually 3rd grade, those 4th graders now when they were in 3rd grade. The 23-24 STAR would be current 4th graders. So same group of kids, how they did last year compared to this year. But where it says assessment, that is their current grade level. So this is reading. You can see we made lots of improvement here with a little bit of a dip at English 1, which is one of the state's real tough areas for growth. And then lastly would be our math data, math cohort data. This chart's presented the same way. So on the left will be last year's scores for the same group of students, and then the 23-24 STAR would be the current data. Obviously, not as much green here as we would like, but an area we'll keep refining and especially looking at right now to see where we can make some improvements and some tweaks to what we're doing. And with that, we can answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions?
So just kind of, sorry. Let's just talk about 3rd grade reading. We're below goal on that. We had a dip on that, but the state did go up on that. Is that correct observation?
That's a correct observation, yes, sir.
Okay. I kind of see that trend in some places the state dips down and we do too. Places the state goes up and we don't. You made the comment you're going to look into seeing why that happened. What's that look like and when will we know? your results of your,
Well, so the process
Investigation.
that our team is already undertaking and has been undertaking for a few weeks now is really doing an assessment or an analysis of the assessment itself to see how questions are asked, and how we then refine how we present the information through our curriculum documents and/or assessments. So the process is going on right now. I was in the RLA office today as they were looking through the fourth grade STAR assessment specifically, and looking at the typically high asked question TEAC strand that wasn't asked in this assessment. This is the second year of being in this assessment, so trying to figure and align our practices of how we ask questions, how we present the material, and making sure the way we present the material is at the level of rigor that they're going to be expected to ensure. We saw a lot of that, especially in math, and really diving into the frequency in which we ask questions, how we spiral questions back in on assessments, and keeping content relevant throughout the year. I think a lot of times, especially in math, you get asked a question right when you took the you just got taught the content, and then you don't see it again until later in the year. So the idea of continuing to spiral back in those, especially areas where we see we underperformed, spiraling it back into a regular part of content, both through assessment and/or classroom activities, is step one in that process.
okay. How accurate is the iReady, or how accurate was iReady on its predictions to how our scores came back?
I'll let Dr. Cureton get into the data specifically. There were some changes from last year to this year with the assessment specifically. When you talk about STAR, comparing apples to apples in that situation, it took 1 to 3 more questions correct when you looked at the math assessment from 22-23 to 23-24. So I think it was more difficult for a program like iReady, and for us specifically, to accurately predict, especially in math, where we saw a change in the performance needed to meet the state standards as it pertains to that. But I can't speak specifically to how accurate they were.
Yeah, I would add on to what Dr. Kropel said, and just add that, I mean, reading was pretty much on point. You know, I would say it was very close to what we expected. Math, we saw some changes with STAR this year that there was just no way to really be ready for, you know, whether you're talking iReady or whatever it is, whatever assessment you're talking about at that point. So that's what we're trying to figure out now, what we need to do and change. We've already talked to iReady about coming back and redoing their alignment, if you want to call it that, kind of their linking study, to look at projections and make sure that they're accurate. But we've checked on that. The math was a little bit over projecting, but the reading was pretty much where we wanted to see it.
Just a little addition to that. You've been reading some stuff in reports from the newspaper from districts of our size and larger that have said the same thing, that some of their diagnostics during the year came back a little bit more positive as you led up to the STAR. And so the calibration of that, I think a lot of other people are starting to have some issues with trying to figure that out. Because when we presented the iReady the last time we looked at it, I guess that was end of year data, up against the cohorts and then the big state bundle, we were actually outperforming them. So if we're matching that, you know, if you're looking at some of our peer districts that we compare ourselves to, I think I've talked to some superintendents, they're having the same conversations tonight about how did we miss on the projections. At the same time, we also had some dips there as well.
Yeah, and we look at comparison districts as it pertains to STAR performance as well. I think we have 15 of them that we've identified that look like us demographically, size-wise, et cetera. And we're in the top 3 in STAR performance in the majority of STAR assessments given in that comparison group as well. So I think the experience that we saw, especially in math with the dips in math, was aligned to what you saw statewide as it pertains to math.
So of those 15 you're talking about right now, we've seen their data?
Yeah. Fresh off the presses. We didn't have it in time for this.
I understand,
to that.
but you're saying somewhere around somewhere in the top 3 out of those 15 that look
I would
like
say
us?
in the majority of assessments, leading in some, second, third in many, a couple outliers where we're not in the, where we're in the top 5. But I think the lowest one was 8th, and I think that was biology. And biology being the only content where we were not in the top half of those.
Which is interesting because, again, demographically speaking, we're comparing ourselves to that, but we're trying to lead that, obviously, and trying to get better all over the place. But that's probably given the board a little indication of the struggles that some of the high eco-dis, 18 to 20,000 to 25,000 student districts are probably having the same conversations. Okay.
Let me say, I'm very impressed with the how well we have improved in some areas. I guess I've always had problems academically with the state projection. So and I always asked about how we do compared to state and district, because I think the standards are somewhat low from my perspective in regards to how we look at it. And because when you consider approaches, and what does approaches mean in regards to a particular grade level?
Well, it's the standard that the state sets for what they consider to be the quote-unquote passing standard for that, whatever that grade level might be. So it's going to be literally different percentage-wise of questions asked from grade level to grade level. There's no level of consistency of how many questions a kid is expected to get correct.
Yeah, it's not 100 questions given and they get 70% right. There's
That's not it.
Yeah.
But the overall standards are saying that they are approaching that grade level at the end of the year, which means they haven't achieved that grade level by the end of that year. Yet again, we pass them on to the 4th grade or 5th grade or whatever grade it may be. And that's always been a concern of mine in regards to how we look at that in regards to being acceptable, quote unquote. So, we're looking at projecting around 75%. That means it's okay for 25% of our kids to only approach 3rd grade level when they get to the end of the year. To me, that's always been disturbing from that aspect. And I think that's why I always look at it in comparison to how we're doing compared to the state and district, because I think the state's relatively low. So I'm very impressed with how we've improved. Yet again, I think the bar is low. And I don't know why they have, set those standards, but I think that it's something that I think that we have the capabilities of doing much better than state or district. And I think that we need to push for that from that perspective, because the bar is low. When you look at saying that it's okay for 25% of our kids to not meet grade level, but yet again, we continue to pass them on, knowing the things that we know about education, that it's hard for them to catch up. So, I'm not complaining about I'm just complaining about the system in regards to how it's set up and how we allow that to be acceptable based on what the state say is acceptable. Mm-hmm. And in all regards, if you were looking at your individual child, I would hope that wouldn't be the case, So I'm saying that I think that we have the capabilities. I think that we are doing better. I know we're doing better. I just want to see us push to beat district and state goals, period, because I think they're a little low. I think that's why the state of Texas is ranked relatively low education-wise, because we don't push for something higher. And I know in light of all the changes that we've had with the exams, STAR, and everything else, it's very difficult right now. But I think that if we set our goals higher and reach for those goals, I think we can attain them. And I think Texas has always had relatively low goals, and I don't know why they have such low expectations of us academically in the state. Yet again, we always considered number one in most things, except education, apparently. So that's just my philosophy in regards to education. I think that sometimes we don't push for the max, and I think that if we don't really push hard enough for it, we'll never get it. And I think that's what we've settled for in the state of Texas.
Well, I know that our team is committed in
Right.
ensuring all
Yeah.
kids are being successful. I think one of the things that stands out to me as we look at this data tonight is the performance of our Meets and Masters kids.
Right.
We really did a great job of being at or above that region and state level. Obviously, we still have some room for growth and committed to ensuring that we do things on our end to put the resources and tools in the hands of the most important people, our teachers that are with our kids every single day, that they have what they need to be successful to create that learning environment that's conducive for all kids.
Yeah. And looking at even the state level, they're saying it's okay for half our kids not to meet the third grade level at the end of the third grade, and that's state guidelines. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not criticizing, I guess I'm criticizing the system and not necessarily all the players. The system, I think, is set relatively low.
Yep.
And I think that's the way it's been for a long time, and I think that that's part of the problem in the state.
You know, the debate being, since 2000, since George W. Bush took office, and you had No Child Left Behind, where over in 20 years, you can have 100 kids at grade level, or 100% of kids at grade level by 2020. There's a lot of things that factor in skill gaps. And maybe the state's trying to find the balance on that, because No Child Left Behind was asinine. It was a great platitude and a tagline. And it did drive education to get better. If you think about it, you go from tabs to teams to tax to TOS, or to TOS to tax to STAR, all these acronyms that we've had for assessment. I think it has pulled the American education system forward compared to when we all went to school. Now, we're certainly challenged by a different population than when we all went to school to get those kiddos ready to go. So data's data. You need to look at it. We need to use it to strive to be better. There's no doubt about it. Is the mark need to be 75% or 100%? I mean, those are the debatable things. And until we can get some of our societal things fixed, you're going to continue to struggle with this thought, Mr. Newsom, I think, because I've seen it. I've been in administration pretty much since the advent of No Child Left Behind, to where we were striving to do that. And it's a heck of a debate to have, and trying to figure that out is something I think is going to probably perplex us for the time you're on the board, the time I'm superintendent here, or wherever I'm superintendent at. It's going to be one of those things to say, is that really acceptable? No, it's not. But what is the degree of difficulty from one district to another? What is the degree of difficulty from one classroom to another, from one child to another? When you start talking about human beings and trying to get that done. So we'll continue to do the best thing we can do. Research-based instructional practices is the best way to go about that, and we're working at it.
Thank you.
Anybody else
Yeah,
have
just, thank you for that comment. I appreciate that. And I think you're probably right, because I was in school a little bit before you.
Yeah.
And the concept of No Child Left Behind has influenced the direction that we're going in regards to, that's why 25% is acceptable to only reach third grade level at the end of the year, unfortunately. But that wasn't the case when I went to school, because, kids were kept behind. And I think that sometimes that's a benefit, because if the kid doesn't know the material and they continue to pass from one grade to the next, that's why we have kids getting to high school and can't read and write, unfortunately. So I think that's the concept I'm referring to. I think that the system is broken somehow in regards to how we look at it academically. And I think that we have to somehow work within that system to exceed it expectation-wise, because it's broken. And you can't continually do the things that we're doing education-wise and expect our kids to excel. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think I left even when I was in school, compulsory education is another factor I didn't leave in there, that when you were going to school, when I was going to school, you didn't have to go to school. Dropouts weren't counted, didn't matter. Parents may not have chosen to. The value of education may not have been seen that way. So it has gotten considerably more complex as the years have gone on, from when we were students in school and K-12 education to where working in either as a trustee or as a school superintendent or administrator, as a teacher, as an educator, it has gotten more complex with a population that is mandated. It is compulsory, it is adjudicated to go to school. And that is a good thing. Whether or not they're able to achieve the marks set forth by the state of Texas, if you're showing up to school every day and you're participating in the learning environments that we do have here in Tyler, I do believe that kids are getting smarter. Whether or not they're hitting those marks or not is something we're striving to do, and duly noted on that.
And you can also, research shows that a child being left behind is not so good. I can imagine failing and your kids passing on, so that's not good. And then we don't want them to be 15 in third grade with 5-year-olds. So we have to get a balance, and I think we're trying to do a balance. It's challenging. I was a No Child Left Behind teacher, and it is challenging, but I would not want my child left behind because of certain things. And it is an age, you're 17 and you're in 4th grade, that doesn't look too good. So we're trying to meet the balance, and that's looking at the data and change it. And testing is hard. The questions are challenging. I can know the material, but when I sit down to take the test and you ask me this question and I'm tired and I've been reading for 2 hours and 3 hours and the passages, so it's more involved than just knowing the material. I'm not a test taker, so that's challenging if you're not a test taker. And so it's a lot of factors that weave in. And so we got to do the best we can and move forward from that. So it is challenging, but thank you for looking into it and seeing what we need to do and what's the next step, and being on top of that and trying to help those students that are not meeting the mark exactly, but we don't want to kill them. We just want to, keep them prepped up a little bit so they can go a little further. So, Thank you.
Disclaimer, we don't have any 17-year-old 4th graders in town. Okay, just wanted to. I know it, yeah.
Oh, can I go?
Go ahead, you got it.
So I'm just going to talk about third grade math because that's the page I'm on here.
Okay.
How many questions are on that test? If you were to, and you don't have to know exactly, if you can guesstimate, that's fine.
Well, I'm wanting to say it's 30 is what I'm wanting to say, but the kids will actually take more because there's field test questions. Yeah, so they're going to get more.
So, and what is the passing, how many, to meet approaches, how many do they have to get right of that 30?
It's a good question. I don't remember that either because that's changed every year, the last 2 years. I'm wanting to say it's around 36, 37% of the points. So not questions, because now questions can be 1 or 2 points, basically. So it's not really a question-based like we're used to. It's more point-based now. But about a third of the points I would approximate as passing.
Out of a total of how many points available?
Probably about 32, 33. It's somewhere in the low 30s. I think Algebra 1 is 43 or 44. I could tell you, I could get the data for you. But.
So if the total points are, let's just say 30, and they got to get 30%, they got to get 9 points then
Correct.
to pass?
Yes, sir. Yep.
What would guessing get them? If they just got 25% of the questions, what score might guessing get them?
Depends on the test.
Well, I'm talking about third grade math.
Yeah, so the answer is, it just depends. It's not all multiple choice like it used to be, where you could say, well, 25% of the test would be, random guessing. But you could ballpark and use that number, about 25, 30%. I know TA does some accounting for setting passing standards by, guessing. They don't want kids to pass just based off guessing, but how deep that goes to that, I couldn't tell you for sure. But if you needed a number, I'd say about a quarter of the test is what they could get through guessing.
And I think it's important to one of Dr. Crawford's favorite professions, the psychometricians that designed the test. The name's in the title there. The way the test is designed, if you talk to a psychometrician, a perfect test question that they ask, 50% of the kids get it wrong. If 80% of the kids get it right, it's a bad test question in their eyes. So the test is designed for half of the kids to get the question wrong on every question that's asked.
Is the inverse also true? If 80% get it wrong, is that considered a bad
It's a bad question.
Bad
Yeah,
question.
they literally want 50% of the kids to get it right, 50% of it to get it wrong. And if it's one way or the other, then it's not a good question either way. So there were questions on this assessment that 80% of the kids got right that will never be asked again in the way it was asked because it was not a good question.
Those are the dudes I want to hang out with socially.
Yeah. I got to talk to some at a conference last week.
I know you did.
I thought they were mythical creatures that didn't exist outside of a dark, no window room. But
When everybody was going to dinner after the conference, they were going back up into the room and typing up questions, baby.
I know the teachers are trying their hardest, I know kids are, and it's, you know, this problem didn't happen, I think I've heard this before, it didn't happen overnight, we're not going to fix it overnight. But, I mean, we are below our gray line.
Yeah, well, and I
in several
think you-
areas, and even points where we had been up,
Yeah.
you know, we'd been going up and now we're going down, so that's a cause of concern for me.
Yeah, and Dr. Kirchen can speak to this in greater detail than I can, but if you go all the way back pre-COVID and look at our data, both in math and reading, in math, we were way above the gray line and had a significant regression, as did the state. And when you look specifically at the math data, that's one of the biggest telling points. We were above that gray line that you see in third grade math before COVID, as was the state, and now both are below. So we saw a significant drop in math performance post-COVID, where reading has kind of held true. Obviously, we did have a little bit of a dip this year as you look at third grade reading. But when you look at other grade levels, obviously, we're just looking at third grade reading. We don't see that same dip across the board in student performance as you look at the cohort data, where you see, especially in reading, where we saw gains pretty much across the board in that cohort data from grade level to grade level, with the exception of English 1. The bigger concern and area for us to continue to grow as we look at math and how we continue to improve our math instruction. And nobody takes that more personally than Michelle Gandy, who oversees math instruction. Nobody is more in tune to the data and refining their processes. You know, to your point, you know, Mr. Newsom, yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into the numbers that are on the page, and I think that's a thing we must celebrate, our campuses must celebrate, but I don't know a person in Tyler ISD that's satisfied with those numbers being where they are. Everybody wants them to be higher and is committed to doing that, and I know our principals, our very strong principal room is committed to making sure that happens as well.
Dr. Curran, when did we set that gray line?
In spring of 20,
So COVID,
COVID, correct.
yeah.
And
And we-
was this the year of the redesign?
No.
Those numbers were set before?
No,
Redesign was 22 to 23.
Last year?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
yeah. So there's some of that in there. We purposely didn't reset it because we didn't know. And how can you, and if we did know with the data we got now, we got enough data now that we can go back and we can actually set it. But predicting that we wanted to set it lower because of the redesign. So, I mean, I get the gray line. I mean, we put it there and we're striving for that. But at the same time, there was a whole lot of stuff that happened during that time to where you kind of it gives us a good stretch goal. Not so sure we don't need to leave it there. I don't know. We'll have to, that's one of the things y'all are going to have to work to do this early fall, is to kind of review that and see if what type of reset we need to do with the information that we now have. Which is strange about goal setting. It is. But when the factors change, that's a little different.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, hey, always work to do. Always work to do, and we appreciate the work you do, and I know y'all get back to the drawing board and go figure out ways to get some wins, get some first downs, so.
One thing I will say on gap closure, we're kind of doing some early models on projections, early modeling on projections. Gap closure, it looks like, might be up a point, which of the hundreds of thousands of data points for a district of our size, that's kind of a win that we're anticipating might be out there for us. Does it mean that every campus is going to be an A or B? No. But as far as proving gap closure within the state's accountability system, it takes a lot to move 1 point or 2 points or 3. So we think that might be something we're going to be able to present. Is that right?
That's accurate, yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, moving on to our business, legal, finance, and consent agenda. I think we had said we might want to pull item B on this. So just to talk a little bit about what that might be. And then that means I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on items A through G with the exception of B.
I move we approve items A through G with the exception of B.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, and motion carries. Okay, item B, consider approval of a resolution of the Tyler Independent School District denouncing changes to Title IX. Dr. Crawford, if you want to, you can summarize those changes to Title IX, and then if anybody feels led to say anything about those changes before we have a motion on that item, I encourage you to do so. 20.
On page
30?
23 of your packet, we actually have a resolution that coincides with, or that's the agenda item on page 23, it starts, talking about what was handed down from the executive side of our federal government in changes and additions to Title IX. Since the 1970s, Title IX has been enacted into law in protection of girls as far as fairness in athletics and in sports and opportunities within schooling. Recently, we've had an adjustment that was handed down by the executive branch that the state of Texas has taken notice upon. Along with in the same vein, we have also corresponded with the Texas Association of School Boards to ask them to make sure that we are very sensitive to local school systems that do not agree with those enacted changes that are supposed to be in effect by August 1 of this year, in protection of our daughters, of our wives, of our mothers, of our sisters, as well, those that are biologically a girl. And we're talking about athletics participation. We just don't feel that is appropriate, along with the usage of facilities such as locker rooms and bathrooms by those that are not anatomically or biologically of the appropriate sex to go into girls or boys identified bathrooms. So that's kind of where we're at on this resolution. It follows a letter that I sent to TASB. It follows some lawsuits that have been enacted to the feds from the state of Texas, along with some other states. There are some school systems that I think have enjoined legal action. And the recommendation here is the board consider this resolution, take action upon such so that our community, along with other stakeholders, know exactly how Tyler ISD feels about this issue.
And just to clarify, I mean, Title IX, the changes would expand the definition of sex to include an individual's self-professed gender identity, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That is the executive branch of the United States government through the Department of Education, et cetera. Another part of this is the harm that it would do to all of our students with the penalty on this. And that was being looked at through some of the title services, whether it be free and reduced lunch or Title I funds possibly being withheld from school systems if they did not comply with such. We think that that's very harmful to our student body. 80% of our students participate in free and reduced lunch.
So the federal government said that if you do not go along with this change, we could very well possibly withhold our funding to your district.
So there's a potential for that, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So there is a resolution and it's long and you can read it, but we're going to vote on that resolution tonight. But pursuant to that agenda item, I'll open it up for comments if you so choose. I know I have a few. But if anybody wants to say anything before me.
I can be brief. I think Title IX is crucial to safeguard against discrimination, but I think that these updates from the White House are not a step forward, but rather a misstep that can complicate athletics. And I think it undermines the idea of fairness and equality that Title IX was originally designed to protect. The other part of this resolution that I think is one of our goals is that we need to be advocating for preserving the autonomy of our local school systems. And I would encourage, our colleagues at other districts to seriously consider upholding this spirit of Title IX with a similar resolution.
Thank you.
President Washman, I appreciate you and the superintendent putting this resolution together and letting us have some input in it. I agree with Mr. Martinez that Title IX was put in place to protect women in educational programs. The proposed changes from the Biden administration seek to undo this protection of our girls over feelings and not established biology. I believe they're looking for the next civil rights movement, but surely this isn't it. I believe in biology and logic, and the proposed changes to Title IX don't accurately reflect the values of the taxpayers of Tyler ISD. So I support this proposed resolution.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to say? Okay. I do. I do have something to say. Girl dad here, grew up with women, grew up 2 older sisters, was always at sports. I understand what Title IX has been, what it is. And in my opinion, this is not about civil rights. It's not about discrimination. It's not even about feelings. At its core, this is about truth. This is about truth with a capital T. No matter where you stand politically, this is something we should all be able to kind of come together on. This is simply about right or wrong. Sure, there's plenty of areas that can get pretty gray, and we debate those things, and we lean on the best idea to move forward, hopefully. But this is as black and white as it gets. Biology, like Mr. Bergfeld said, is biology. And I can't believe we're at a point in society where on one hand, we're as smart as we've ever been. We can split atoms, we can send people into space, we can cure diseases, we can create technology that pretty much does all of that for us. It's unbelievable how advanced we are as a society. Yet the executive branch of the greatest country in the world is threatening to pull funding to heroes. They're threatening to pull funding to teachers and school systems who are charged with educating children in a modern climate that is more challenging, as we can see by the results we just reviewed. It is more challenging than it's ever been in the classroom and on the home front. And it's over the simple definition of what is a boy or a girl. Holy moly. What planet am I on? I swear. It's an episode of The Twilight Zone. I can't believe I'm sitting here talking about this. They want us to acknowledge, and more so, they want us to applaud and be okay with a boy saying he's a girl and beating up on real girls on the athletic field when he's obviously biologically more advanced and has advantages. Y'all, this is dangerous. It is physically dangerous for our daughters who participate. It is mentally and spiritually dangerous for our youth who see a society that accepts this blatant attack on women and are forced to accept the outcomes and stay quiet. What does it say about us? What does it say about us if we accept this? Girl moms, girl dads, where are you at? I have a son, I have a daughter. I love them both. I love them both for who and what they are. And I have the deepest compassion for any child or any adult, for that matter, who might question the very fabric of who they are. I really do. Or a parent that might have to navigate that road. We understand this is a modern reality, and we work with families who deal with this. But we love every single child who attends Tyler ISD, and you can stand firm in truth, y'all. You can stand firm in truth, and you can also love others. And those are not and do not have to be mutually exclusive ideas. But this, however, is just an attempt of people influenced, you have to imagine, by dark forces to tear down the very fabric of our society and rebuild it into something they can control. They devise schemes and they whisper half-truths into the ears of the vulnerable so they can control and just make them their useful idiots, pretty much. If they take away our ability to call up, up, and down, down, or a boy, or a girl, then they've taken away our ability to question anything and everything. Freedom will be lost. That is where the danger is. So if there's ever been a time to stand up, if there's ever been a time to stand up for what is right, for what is real, for what is noble, for what is chivalrous, for what is good, it is now. And I encourage other districts to do so, Mr. Martinez. And if there has ever been a place to lead by example, it's here. It is Tyler, Texas. And I want to assure our community that we will protect our girls here in Tyler. That's facts. We will protect sanity, we will protect reality, and we will stand firm on the foundation of the laws of nature. That is who we are. As far as federal funding goes, if getting that means accepting this, then you can keep your money, okay? I have faith that our community will stand with us. They will support us on this one. And to close, it's been said that this issue, as Mr. Bergfeld might have referred to, this assault on Title IX is about civil rights. Well, I contend that calling a biological boy a girl is nowhere near civil, and it's not right. And that's all I have to say. I will go ahead and entertain a motion to approve item B.
I will make the motion unless the ladies want to say something regarding this. Okay. I move that we approve the resolution denouncing the change to Title IX.
Thank you, Mr. Newsom. Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. It passes 7-0. Now, I will say we might have missed consider approval of the delegate and alternate to the Tacit-TASB convention. We kind of discussed this in agenda setting, and I think we've maybe got it figured out. Did somebody want to raise their hand for that?
Mr. Martinez?
I'm going to be there, so yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Okay, very good. And then, Mrs. Atkins, we're going to be the alternate?
Yes.
Okay.
Should
And-
something happen.
And does that require a vote? Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and then entertain a motion to approve Mr. Martinez as a delegate and Ms. Atkins as the alternate.
So move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Mr.
Thank
Leverett, if one of them can't make it, I'm sure with your advocacy work, you could probably slide right in, I'm sure.
Hey, really?
Okay, now we have items A through C on the curriculum, instruction, and consent agenda. Unless we want to pull any of those to talk about, I'll entertain a motions on items A through C.
Mr. President, I move we approve the curriculum instruction consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. We have a quarterly investment report and a financial executive summary.
The year of Ms. Bjork continues, and we have a quarterly investment report, quarterly financial executive summary from Ms. Bjork as she enters into her last 6 months or so.
Can y'all hear me?
There you
Okay.
go.
Okay. For the investment summary, currently, at the end of May, we had around 149 million invested at around, it's hovering around a 5% average. So we're doing real well, still in that. On the financial summary, if you look at the pages 65 and 66 in the agenda, it shows our revenues and expenses comparing to last year. And as you can tell, we're just right in line. If you look at general fund expenditures, at this point, last year we had spent 80.87%. This year it's 80.57%. So we're right in line in the general fund. And the other ones are pretty much in line also. Just a few little variances, but nothing to be concerned about. And then the next page is like our special revenue funds and the health insurance fund. So,
No need to repeat, because I think we presented it last meeting in our budget summary, our first budget meeting of the year, about that health insurance fund that we have. We're clicking along, look like we're going to be contributing again to hold that up at about the same rate as last year. Is that right?
Right. Well, on that page 66, where it shows 12,488,000 for revenues, 4 million of that we have put in extra. And so at the bottom, you can see we're another million short. So I've put that in, and then we'll probably have to put in another 2 or 3.
Speaking of the health plan, as we're switching over to TRS, any early indications by our benefits and department on the individuals, how many individuals are going to be affected that are just employee and family?
I have no idea
We
about
haven't.
that.
It's pretty early, because I think that would just close
And
down.
it just ended last week.
Last week,
or
okay.
A week ago.
Yeah, we'll be interested to present that to the board, just as we've made this switch, and they backed us on it. And we appreciate that, board, because it's a fiscal move for us that we could no longer sustain. Y'all are very aware of that. There is that one classification of employees that we're really concerned about. We're hoping that some of the strategies that we deployed, even Dr. Gropel sitting right there next to you, actually even benefited a little bit from being able to make a move to where, for instance, if you were an employee and family, and you had 2 people that were working in our school system or maybe working in another school system or took private insurance from somewhere else, could actually see a reduction in healthcare costs or right at the same, whereas those that are single employee that carry their entire family, a little bit more. We're helping them out, yeah.
Mainly the spouse.
It's mainly the spouse, that's right. So that'll be something that's coming up in regards, it's a budget impact that we'll have some decent data for you to see if we were able to make it as sensitive on our employees as possible in this transition.
Well, I'm hoping also that more employees took out employee only because it was a lot less expensive.
Correct, yeah.
So we're hoping we got more.
Yeah, we were
people.
projecting somewhere around 70 to 80 employees initially, I think, that were going to be in that category. And so maybe that's shrinking as we went through that. We'll get that data for y'all.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Student Code of Conduct, first reading. So I'm sure, just as we normally do with first readings, review it. If you have any questions or make notes, call your one employee, and then I'm sure we'll have more discussion possibly at the next meeting or the one after that.
We will. I think we're tracking on not many adjustments because of this. It wasn't a legislative year, so nothing came out of Austin, surprisingly, because they had 187 days or something like that last year. I'm surprised we didn't have another special session or two. But so we should be able to roll into this next school year with minimal adjustments to our student code of conduct.
Very well. Any comments, questions?
Just to mention, I'm not sure we covered it or not, but we did not have anyone signed up for public participation tonight. I'm not sure if we didn't catch that over here in Minutes World.
Yes.
Okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
I just rolled right through it since we did not have anybody signed up, so yes.
Well,
thank
your
you.
board secretary wanted to make sure that we got that on record publicly.
We did not
On
have
video,
anybody signed up
in the
for public
minutes. No
participation.
one signed up for public comment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Orr.
I'm sure they'll come back. Okay, future business, July 11th. Oh, Wayne Boshear's Center for Exceptional Programs graduation. The best song in the district and the best graduation in the district. I encourage everybody, if you can make it, to be there. It's great. And then on the 22nd, we have a regular board meeting. Having gone over that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it and the motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.